أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابد ما عبدتم ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد لكم دينكم ولي دين. So ayah number 1, قل, we know it's fail amr, مبني على سكون, فاعل مستتر, تقديره أنت, يا أيها. So there are 3 parts to it. Ya, Ayu, and Ha. Okay. Ya is harfu nida. Ayu is munada. And it is mabniun ala dam. Fi mahalli nasbin munada. Okay. I should have wrote that at the bottom. I can delete it from here. Ha is harfu zaida. And it is used for tambi. Let tambi. Al-Kafirun is either badal, so both options exist, either badal or not li ayu. Okay. And you can see that it is marfu because the mislaha al-lafz. See the word ayu, we said it's mabni ala dham, but you can actually see that the ending is with a dhamma. So the Arab dictionary says it is, even though it is fi mahali nasbin munada, but from a love's point of view, it is marfu. And that is why the badal for it, Al-Kafirun, is also marfu because it's matching with the lafz aspect of ayu. Okay. Of course, they have to match both the mubdal minhu and the badal has to match. But in this case, they're matching with the from a love's perspective, not from the actual true case perspective, which in this case is mansoob. And we see this, by the way, everywhere in the um, uh, calling construction. Whenever there is a particle of calling or harf nida used, we always see this construction. And of course, the ya ayyuhal kafirun, this jumla, jumla nida, and wa jawabu nida, which is coming later, is fi mahalli nasbin maqulul qawl. Okay. Looking at the meanings of this, ayyu, okay, and feminine is ayyu, ayyatu. One of the usages that I'm describing here is that it is a it's a harfun. It is used to connect the harfun nida, which is ja, to a noun which is decorated with al, the definite article. Okay. And whenever that happens, uh, it is suffixed with the that harfu tambi ha. Okay. That is how it is. Okay. This is just the rule, and you can see the examples, and you can see the examples in two groups. In the first group, there all the nouns that the ya is connected with are have an al attached to it, but the second group, again there is a ya, but there is no al in the noun that it is connected to. There is no al in the munada. So ya ayyuhal ladina, ya ayyuhan nasu, ya ayyuhal rasul, ya ayyuhan nabiyyu, ya ayyuhal mala'u, ya ayyuhal aziz, ya ayyuhal rusul, ya ayyuhan nafs. Okay. All these examples are from the Quran, by the way. But then the other group is Ya Adamu, Ya Ibrahimu, Ya Maryamu, Ya Bani Israelu, Ya Ulil Albab, and so on. None of them have Ayu or Ayyuha in there because none of them have a Al attached to them. So it is not whether they are definite or not, but rather is the Al in the noun or not. And if the Al is in the noun, then you will need to bring Ayyuha in there. Okay? The only exception being that, and if it is feminine, then you will bring Ayyatuha. Okay? And then, of course, the Ayyu word itself is a noun of interrogation, meaning which or who. And there are other usages as well. I strongly recommend people to actually take a look at the dictionary for further reading of this word, inshallah. So the meaning, say, ya, o, okay, and then really the translation is really the meaning will still be for the word following ayyuha, because ayyu itself in this context cannot really be translated into anything equivalent in English. Okay, o disbelievers. Okay, we forgot to bring the meaning of kafirun. Kafara yakfiru, kufran or kufranan, to be ungrateful of the favors of God, to deny God, to blaspheme God. There's another meaning which is kafara yakfiru kafran. That's a different masdar, which means to cover, to hide. The word kafir, which is ismul fa'il, plural being kafiruna or kuffarun, means disbeliever, one who rejects or denies God. Also has a meaning of a farmer or a planter, okay? Because essentially they are covering the seed, um, or they're hiding the seed in the soil. Okay, so from that perspective, they're also kafir, not from their religious belief point of view. So kafiruna, say, oh disbelievers, okay? And this is this word kafirun is used to label or name the surah. And then ayah number 2, La a'budu ma ta'budun. So the first ayah was the nida, the calling. That's all we find in the first ayah. The first ayah is just about calling. Oh, sorry, say, oh disbelievers. Okay. What to say to them is coming in the subsequent ayat. So everything now after that, La a'budu ma ta'budun and onward, this is what is referred to as jawabu nida. It is what is to be said when you call someone. Okay. So la a'budu, la is nafiya, a'budu is fi'l mudare, marfu, fa'il mustatir taqdiruhu ana, ma is al-mawsula. Here it is coming fi mahalli raf'in, sorry, fi mahalli nasbin, في محل نصب مفعول به. أن تعبدون فعل مضارع مرفوع بثبوت نون. And واو is ضمير متصل في محل رفع فاعل. And تعبدون here is صلة الموصول. Okay. And then as we said, this whole jumla is jumla fi'liya. Okay. لا محل لها من الإعراب جواب النداء. Okay. ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد. Wow. Sorry, I should have finished the previous ayah. My apologies. لا أعبد not أعبد. عبد يعبد عبادة. And then عبودة عبودية. Bab Nasara, to worship, to serve, to render religious service, to obey God. And then Abid, which is ism fa'il, plural is Abidun, means worshipper. And then Abd, okay, when it is used in relationship to God, then it means somebody who's a worshipper of God or servant of God. Okay, and also even without the relationship to God, it can also be used as anyone, a slave, a male slave, with the female slave being amatun, and the plural is abid and ibad. Okay, both has somewhat similar meaning, but I have listed them here. Servants of God, all living things. Okay. So la a'budu, not I worship, ma, that which, ta'buduna, you worship. Okay. Then ayah number 3. Wala antum abiduna ma abud. Waw harfu atf. La again nahiya. Sorry, nafiya. You're making the same mistake. Nafiya. Antum is mubtada. Abiduna is khabar. Marfu'un wa alamatu raf'ihi al-wa'u li'annahu jama mudhakkar salim. And then ma is again mawsula. Now here it is coming as a mafulun bihi, and its nasib is actually abidun. Okay, we know that in addition to fail, you can also have a mafulun bihi from ism fa'il, ism maf'ul, as well as masdar. Okay, because all three of them have an action contained in their meaning. So abid is the one who worships. So it can create a maf'ulun bihi. So in this case, ma is maf'ulun bihi fi mahali nasbin maf'ulun bihi, and then a'bud is fi'l mudari marfu'un bid dhamma fa'il mustatir taqdiruhu ana. Okay. And the translation will be nor you are worshippers. In English, we will say of that which I worship. Okay. So the previous sentence was La a'budu ma ta'budun. I do not worship that which you worship. Wala antum abiduna ma a'bud. Nor you are worshippers of that which I worship. Then ayah number 4. Wala ana abidum ma abadtum. Okay. Again, harfu atf. La is nafiya. Ana damir munfasil. مبني على سكون في محل رفع مبتدا. عابد خبر مرفوع. ما الموصولة again مفعول به and its nasib is عابد. And then عبدتم فعل ماضي مبني على سكون. تم ضمير متصل في محل رفع فاعل. And عبدتم is صلة الموصول. I should have mentioned in the previous ayah we had صلة الموصول. One thing I forgot, actually, I should have mentioned before as well. We did not talk about the a'id in the ayah number 2 and 3 and I guess in 4 as well. La a'budu ma ta'budun. So there is a mahzuf maf'ulun bihi here, who, which is a maf'ulun bihi for ta'buduna. And this is also the a'id for which goes back to the ma. Okay. So from an understanding point of view, ma ta'budunahu, but it's understood, that's why it's not mentioned. Similarly, wala antum abiduna ma abudu. Again, abuduhu, okay, which is the maf'ulun bihi for abudu, and the aid which goes to ma. And in the last one, wala ana abidu ma abattum. So in this case, it would have been tumuhu, because that's just a writing rule that we actually bring in an extra waw. And this would have been the maf'ulun bihi and the aid which goes back to the ma al-mawsula. Okay. And then nor I am going to be a worshipper of that which you worship. Now notice the ayah number 2, la a'budu ma ta'budun, fi'l mudari was used. Okay. And the translation that you see there is I do not worship. I do not worship that which you worship. And then wala antum abiduna ma abud, and nor you worship what I worship. Now ayah number 4, which seems to be almost saying the same thing as ayah number 2, wala ana abidum ma abadtum, but notice the change from a verb to a noun, from abud to ana abid, from abudu to ana abid. Okay. And we know that the nouns are have no tense, have no past, present, or future. Okay. They are daim. Okay. So by with the some of the books say that with ayah number 2 there can be some room left that maybe in future he may worship what they worship. Okay, na'udhu. But with the ayah number 4, it makes it very clear, okay, that ever and ever, forever, I will not worship, I'm not going to worship that which you worship. Okay. So by bringing in the noun, it brings in, it clarifies any doubt that anybody may have in their mind that it may be in future that they may actually be worshiping uh, um, what they worship. Okay, so so this completely clears their confusion or or doubt that no, I'm not going to be a worshipper ever of that which you worship. And of course, there is another explanation, which is simply that the repetition is brought in for ta'keed. Okay, we see that in other places in the Quran as well. That repetition does bring in ta'keed as well. So this gets into the balagha, but this is one of the explanations that I thought I should share with you. And then ayah number 5 has a very same analysis that we saw in ayah number 3. So I'm not gonna repeat it, except that the meaning, because now they are coming after ayah number 4, which has already took the meanings into kind of future. Okay. By the way, it can also be, so I should have corrected myself. I should correct myself actually. It's not just in future, it is actually clarifying that never in the past, never, not now, and not in the future. Meaning, even in the past, I never worshipped that what you used to worship, like those false gods, those statues that you have that you used to worship. I never worship them either. Okay, and I'm not worshiping them now, and I will never be worshiping them in the future either. Okay, so so now with ayah number 4 there and ayah number 5 being ma'tuf to it, the meaning will also kind of shift to future, as opposed to ayah number 3, which was kind of like now, like you're not worshiping, you're not a worshiper of that which I worship. Okay, so the ayah number 5 will be, nor you are going to worship that which I worship. Okay. And then ayah number 6, which is the last ayah, lakum dinukum waliya deen. La and kum, jar wa majroor, shibu jumla. Now there are two options from based on what we studied in Medina books. We will say it is khabar muqaddam. Okay. But many of the Arab books will say muta'alliq bi mahzuf khabar muqaddam. Okay, because they say jar majroor itself cannot be a khabar muqaddam, so it is about a khabar which is mahzuf. Okay. And then dinu and kum. Dinu is mubtada muakhar marfu'un, and kum is mudaf ilayhi. Waw is harfu atf, and then jar wa majroor, very same analysis. Shibhu jumla, khabar muqaddam. Okay, and dini, again deen and ya mutakallim. Ya mutakallim is mahzuf here. Deen is mubtada marfu'un bid-dammat al-muqaddara wa huwa mudaf, and ya mutakallim is mudaf ilayhi. And this jumla, okay, jumla ismiya, is ma'tufun ala lakum dinukum. Okay, the meanings For you is your religion. We saw the meaning of deen in Surah Nasr. I have captured in the notes here just for your convenience, so please go through it. In this case, we will translate this as deen. For you is your religion, and for me is my religion. قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ. Say, O disbelievers, La a'budu ma ta'budun. I do not worship that which you worship. Wala antum abiduna ma a'bud. Nor you are worshippers of that which I worship. Wala ana abidum ma abattum. Nor I am going to be a worshipper of that which you worship. Wala antum abiduna ma a'bud. Nor are you going to worship, or nor are you going to be worshippers of that which I worship. Lakum dinukum waliya deen. For you is your religion, and for me is my religion. That finishes Surat-al-Kâfirûn.